Tales of Herding Gods, Episode 44. Interpreting the original classic and savoring the fate of its characters.
Hello everyone, I'm the Goman content creator, Kuan Xu.
Continuing from last time, Elder Yanzi brought Daoist Lin Sun to block the entrance at the Dao Sect's gate. The Grand Libationer of the Imperial College and the young Ancestral Master went to negotiate but learned there was no room for discussion, they could only settle it with a martial contest. The Ancestral Master said loudly, "Scholars of the Imperial College, hear my command. Regardless of cultivation level, you may all go down the mountain to challenge them." Afterward, a divine arts practitioner walked out of the mountain gate and strode towards the Dao Sect's Daoist. This person's name was Chu Ping, and he was of the Six Directions realm, as was Daoist Lin Sun. After the two exchanged salutations, the battle began.
Que Ping Suden Li bruckte tout finge together, Pinching a swart pele.
With a humming sound it shot out, forming a brilliant beam of sword chi as thick as a pillar. One could faintly see that it was a sword pillar formed from countless sword lights, spinning crazily around a central point. Chu Ping used this pillar as his sword. As he struck down, the blade howled wherever it passed, its momentum overwhelming. Seeing this, Qin Mu couldn't help but be surprised, his heart pounding. Had the swordsmanship of the Eternal Peace Empire actually reached such a level? Was this one of the profound sword techniques of the Imperial College? Wei Yong replied, "It is the Great Six Directions sword technique. This is the Imperial Preceptor's sword technique, a divine art that only divine arts practitioners can cultivate."
The Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor's sword technique.
Qin Mu's heart trembled violently. He never expected that it would be a sword art created by the Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor. The Great Six Directions sword technique unleashed by Chu Ping was truly grand and majestic, its power incomparably fierce and unimaginably strong. In the Great Ruins, Qin Mu had also met a few divine arts practitioners of the Six Directions realm, but none were as formidable as this Chu Ping. Suddenly, the horsetail whisk at Daoist Lin Sun's elbow floated up. The strands of the whisk grew explosively, gathering together strand by strand, and met Chu Ping's Great Six Directions sword with a thrust. Daoist Lin Sun's strike also looked deceptively simple, but each of those strands was in fact a slender ever-changing sword. There were too many variations. Qin Mu opened his divine firmament and azure firmament heavenly eyes, and his heart pounded. Daoist Lin Sun's whisk had over 100 strands, and in a single instant, each strand changed its move more than a dozen times. This meant that in every instant, his move variations numbered over 1,000. It was impossible to defend against so many variations. Meanwhile, in Chu Ping's Great Six Directions sword technique, there were not nearly as many variations. Although his sword pillar contained more sword lights, they mostly used the same coiling sword form, spinning repeatedly and advancing layer by layer. When it met Daoist Lin Sun's strands as swords, it was sure to be broken.
Clang, clang, clang. The sound of countless dense collisions rang out.
The crowd only had time to see the strands collide with the brilliant sword pillar before they saw the pillar disintegrate in mid-air. Only a few people could see the changes in both sides' sword techniques in that instant. Chu Ping was pierced in the chest by the whisk, and with a loud thud, he slammed into the mountain gate. Daoist Lin Sun gently shook his whisk, and the strands grew shorter and shorter, once again resting on his elbow. Then he sat back down, calm and composed. Meanwhile, Chu Ping slid down from the mountain gate, his chest riddled with bloody holes where he was pierced by the strands of the whisk. Daoist Lin Sun had not dealt a killing blow. When the strands pierced his body, they avoided his vital points, so his life was not in danger. Several physicians from the Imperial Physician Hall rushed over, had Chu Ping swallow a few spirit pills, and tore open his shirt. They applied medicinal paste to the wounds on his chest and back, plugging up the bloody holes.
Behind the mountain gate, the arts of the Mani Imperial College Scholar sank.
After all, Chu Ping was ranked within the top 100 divine arts practitioners. Once a practitioner ranked in the top 100, the difference in strength was minimal. Chu Ping's swift defeat showed that his strength was considerably less than Daoist Lin Sun's. Suddenly, the second prince's voice reached the ears of everyone present. Those who couldn't see the changes in their moves had best not go up to fight. This statement was a huge blow to the Imperial College scholars, because most of them had failed to see the changes in Chu Ping's and Daoist Lin Sun's moves. Besides Shen Wanyun, Yun Ke whispered, "First senior brother, did you see the variations in that Daoist sword technique?" Shen Wanyun hesitated and said, I saw his move variations with my heavenly eye, but I can't counter them. Yu Qinghong giggled, first senior brother, if you go up, that little Daoist will surely seal his 6 directions divine treasure to fight you. Most of his cultivation lies in the 6 directions divine treasure. Without the cultivation from his 6 directions divine treasure, he won't be able to execute such an exquisite sword art. Shun Wanyun hesitated for a moment and shook his head. I need to wait a bit longer to see if I can find a flaw in his technique. That Qin Mu is not far away. Let's go over and ask him for his opinion. The 3 of them went over to where Qin Mu was. Shun Wanyun said, Junior brother Qin, do you think you could defeat this Dao Sex Daozi? Qin Mu said, if we were to fight in front of the mountain gate and he sealed his 6 directions divine treasure, our chances of victory and defeat would be 50-50. Yu Qinghong sneered, you're bragging. You think your chances are 50-50? Doesn't that mean you're even stronger than a divine arts practitioner of the 6 directions realm? Hu Linger pointed at the girl and said, young master, this is the girl that you backed into and smashed into the bronze pillar. I've seen her face. Yu Qinghong was overcome with shame and anger. This fox is despicable. Shun Wanyun asked again, what if it's not an open and honorable fight in front of the mountain gate? Junior brother, what would your chances be then? Qin Mu calmly replied, in a life or death battle, I'd have a 100% chance of winning. By any means necessary, he wouldn't stand a chance. I'm actually very strong.
Shen Wanyaes a trembled. Yun Kelogt, Junior Broder Kin, Yurbing habite tout arrogant.
The fox pointed at Yun Ke and exclaimed to the young master, this monk is the one you knocked out with a single punch. It's this bold head. I remember this head. Monk, your clothes are still with my young master. How much are you going to pay to get them back? Yun Ke's smile froze on his face. He said sullenly, as a monk, worldly possessions mean nothing to me. I don't have any money right now. I'll go get them back when I have money. After all that talk, you're still just a poor monk, the fox said.
You débeteur uri.
Otherwise, the young master will pawn your clothes. Just as she spoke, another divine arts practitioner walked out from the mountain gate. This man had a magnificent bearing and a handsome appearance. He stepped forward, bowed to the 2 Daoists blocking the gate, and said, Zhenwei Xiaowei, Kuan Xu. I venture to ask for the Daozi's guidance. I am of the 7 stars realm, and I will seal my 7 stars divine treasure. Daozi Lin Sun stood, returned the bow and said, Senior brother Kuan please. Imperial College scholars were all 8th rank officials, while a Zhenwei Xiaowei was a 6th rank official. Kuan Xu's 6th rank title was earned through combat on the border. To be able to fight on the battlefield, earn such merit, and rise to the 6th rank made one an extraordinary person. In the last grand examination for divine arts practitioners, Kuan Xu ranked in the top 10 of the Imperial College. Kuan Xu's combat power was astonishing. Even with his 7 stars divine treasure sealed, his strength surpassed Chu Ping's. And compared to Chu Ping, his skills were more suited for actual combat. His swordsmanship wasn't bound by rigid forms but adapted to the situation. He and Daozi Lin Sun actually fought their way into the sky, clashing in mid-air. Flashes of sword light shot back and forth like lightning. Kuan Xu pressed in for close combat, his momentum like a peal of thunder, having clearly cultivated an extremely powerful combat technique as well. This battle was spectacular, leaving the crowd below dazzled and full of admiration. Qin Mu frowned and asked Shun Wanyun, first senior brother, the Dao sex cultivation technique is extraordinary. What are its origins?
Shen Wanyan Shuki said.
Then a deep voice behind them said, the classic of the Dao sect is the pre-celestial grand mystery art. It's a righteous profound art, as famous as the great educational heavenly devil scripture of the heavenly devil cult. I'm afraid Kuan Xu is about to be defeated. Qin Mu looked back and saw that the prince who had been standing beside Ling Yuxiu had appeared behind them at some point. It seemed to be Ling Yuxiu's second older brother. Ling Yuxiu was with him, having come down from her crescent moon and now standing behind the second prince. In the very instant Qin Mu turned his head, Kuan Xu fell from mid-air, landing on the ground with a thud. He had fought Daozi Lin Sun at close range, and the moment their palms collided, his vital qi was shattered by his opponent's pre-celestial grand mystery art. Then his moves were broken, and he was forced to fall from the sky. Shun Wanyun's eye twitched, a chill in his heart. I'm afraid I'm no match for him. His combat power is too strong. Even if he seals his other divine treasures and only keeps his 5 elements realm, it would be very difficult for me to defeat him. The more he reveals, the more likely it is I'll see a flaw. I'll continue to observe for a while. Perhaps I can find his weakness. Haha, it's clear that this Shun Wanyun is a very interesting person. As the first senior brother of the Scholar's Chamber, he has his own pride that refuses to admit defeat. The second prince took a long deep breath and walked out of the mountain gate. Ling Yuxiu quickly said, "Second brother, what are you going out for?" "I am also a scholar of the Imperial College, and I have royal blood," the second prince replied, a golden light radiating from his eyes. "How can I not fight? Our Ling family are emperors who fought for their throne, not emperors propped up by civil and military officials." His voice was firm and powerful. Qin Mu couldn't help but admire him. Now that's a prince. For the Ling family to become emperors and the supreme royal family was indeed no accident. Imperial College scholar, Ling Yuxiu, requests the Daoist's guidance. The second prince walked up to Daoist Lin Sun, bowed, looked up, and said solemnly, "Daoist, would you like to rest for a while and recover your vital qi?" Daoist Lin Sun nodded and said, "Senior brother Ling, please wait a moment." Qin Mu clapped his hands in admiration and said, "If it were me, I would rest too." When Daoist Lin Sun heard this, he followed the sound and looked behind the mountain gate. His gaze fell on Qin Mu's face. When he saw Qin Mu's eyes, his heart jolted. Qin Mu returned a smile. Daoist Lin Sun also smiled and nodded. He said to the old Daoist beside him, "Martial Uncle Danyangzi, I see a formidable person. His eyes have 2 more layers of pupils than an ordinary person's. It seems he can see through my illusions and reality." Danyangzi's expression was calm, his heart like still water, unmoved by external things.
Dontlose your composure.
The eternal peace Imperial Preceptor is known as the number 1 under the gods. It's natural for this Imperial College to have some formidable figures. Daoist Lin Sun continued to adjust his breathing and recover his cultivation. After he had fully recovered, he stood up and bowed to the second prince, Ling Yuxiu. As Ling Yuxiu returned the bow and rose, his vital qi suddenly erupted with a dragon's roar and a tiger's howl. In that instant, almost everyone in front of the mountain gate felt a wave of draconic might. The second prince, Ling Yuxiu, took a step, his figure like a roaming dragon. His 5 fingers splayed. His 5 fingers were like dragons. 5 streams of draconic qi surged out, lunging with exceptional ferocity at Daoist Lin Sun. With a move called 5 Dragon Strangulation, Ling Yuxiu's 5 fingers clenched, and the 5 streams of draconic qi enveloped Daoist Lin Sun. The dragon bodies coiled around him and opened their mouths to spew true fire at the youth.
The flamme rage de fiercely.
The second prince, Ling Yuxiu, was extremely fast. The moment the 5 dragons lunged, he was already beside Daoist Lin Sun, his arm and hand forming a sword.
The dragon sword body pierced into the 5 dragon cage.
Inside the cage, Daoist Lin Sun was engulfed in the raging true fire, but his body shone with a jade-like luster, and the 5 dragons' true fire couldn't harm him. As the second prince's sword pierced into the cage, Daoist Lin Sun raised his whisk to meet it, the strands wrapping around the dragon sword. The second prince stomped his foot, and the earth trembled as great dragons burst from the ground, lunging at Daoist Lin Sun from below. Daoist Lin Sun shattered the 5 dragons' cage with a palm strike and soared into the air. The strands of his whisk shot past like arrows, slicing off the heads of the great dragons as he dodged the sword lights shooting up from below. Qin Mu was surprised. The second prince's fighting style was that of the spell school, but it was as fierce and domineering as the combat school, exceptionally sharp. Qin Mu said to Ling Yuxiu, "Little sister, your imperial family's cultivation technique is very powerful." Ling Yuxiu said proudly, "But of course.
My second brother cultivat the 9 dragon empereur.
It's no worse than the Dao Sect's pre-celestial grand mystery art. My second brother even has an official rank. He's a 5th rank Yuji general." The second prince soared into the air. The 2 streams of draconic qi at his feet transformed into dragon forms, shaking their heads and wagging their tails as they dashed through the air, charging towards Daoist Lin Sun. The exquisiteness of his spells was breathtaking. Qin Mu watched for a moment and said, "Little sister, your second brother is about to be defeated." Ling Yuxiu's heart jolted. Suddenly, The duel in mid-air had concluded. The second prince, Ling Yushu, met Daoist Lin Sun's counterattack. Daoist Lin Sun had unleashed his spells, fighting spell with spell. The spells of the Dao sect's divine arts were in no way inferior in power to the Nine Dragons' Emperor art. At the same time, the whisk in Daoist Lin Sun's hand flew out. The strands suddenly spread, transforming into countless slender swords that spun and cut, frantically attacking Ling Yushu. Ling Yushu defended with his dragon sword, but he couldn't block so many slender swords. In the blink of an eye, he was covered in wounds and had no choice but to land and admit defeat. Ling Yushu's defeat sent an even greater shock through the Imperial College. After all, he was the second prince of the royal family, and his own abilities were outstanding. Combined with the deliberate cultivation of the Imperial College and the royal family, Ling Yushu was one of the very best. For even him to be defeated by Daoist Lin Sun meant that it was almost impossible to find anyone in the Imperial College who could face this Daoist. Yu Qinghong looked at Qin Mu. You who said 50-50, our Imperial College is being blocked at its gate. Aren't you going to go up? Qin Mu replied calmly, why should I go up? Yu Qinghong huffed in annoyance, didn't you say that if you fought this Daoist, the outcome would be 50-50? Qin Mu shook his head. I just became an Imperial College scholar. I've only attended one lecture in Hongguang Hall. I haven't learned any of the Imperial College's martial arts, so what if I win? It can't be considered a demonstration of the Imperial College's abilities.
Bezid, à ma barbarian from the Great Ruin. You all wanted to drive me away before, and now you want me to stand up for the Imperial College?
Is there really such a good deal? Yu Qinghong was speechless. Yun Ke the monk said, but you are a disciple of our Imperial College. The Imperial College is in trouble. How can you not help?
Qin Mu looked.
In all these years at the Imperial College, is there not a single genius who can match this Daoist? Besides, haven't the Imperial Preceptor's disciples appeared yet?
The Imperial Preceptor is the number one in the world.
His disciples must be extraordinary. With his disciples around, why should I overstep my bounds? Everyone's heart trembled, and a flicker of hope was rekindled. The Imperial Preceptor was hailed as the number one under the gods, and each of his disciples was exceptionally outstanding. If the Imperial Preceptor's disciples were to come, perhaps they could defeat this Dao sect's Daoist. Ling Yushu furrowed her brows. But the Imperial Preceptor's disciples are not scholars of the Imperial College. As she spoke, several more Imperial College scholars went forward, but all were defeated without exception. Someone even planned to use a war of attrition, hoping to exhaust Daoist Lin Sun's vital qi cultivation by not giving him time to rest. But this idea was too contemptible, and a director soon came to stop it. Daoist Lin Sun won over 10 matches in a row. At the top of Jade Mountain, in the Hall of Imperial Learning, the directors of the various halls of the Imperial College, the Grand Libationer, and the Secretary-General were all present. Their expressions were all grim and uncertain. From time to time, someone would rush in from outside to report. Hearing these reports, the faces of the crowd grew even more somber. Only the young ancestral master, seated in the position of honor, remained calm and composed, completely unconcerned with victory or defeat. Just then, the news came from outside, one after another. Reporting to the Grand Libationer, the Dao sect's Daoist has defeated the second prince. The Daoist has defeated the heir of the king of Nonping Jiu-In. The Daoist defeated the commandery princess Duo of the king of Shiping. Ling Shiji of the Heavenly Strategies Office was also defeated. Lin Qiuhe was injured by the Daoist. After a long time, no one else came to report, but the faces of the crowd were as grim as could be. No one coming to report meant that no other Imperial College scholar dared to challenge Lin Sun. They could only watch helplessly as he blocked their gate. One of the Grand Libationers frowned and said, Our Imperial College has been established for so many years and has taught countless masters, the pillars of our nation. Can we really not find a single person who can match this Daoist? A director shook his head and said, There are some. Over the years, there have always been 3 or 5 geniuses no less talented than the Dao sect's Daoist. However, these people are no longer scholars. They have left the Imperial College to serve as officials in the court. Once they leave our Imperial College, they are no longer scholars. Daoist Ling Yun sighed, Are we just going to let this Daoist block our gate? Wouldn't that be too humiliating? The crowd was silent. Suddenly, Chan Master Faching of Qingyong Hall said, "Report this matter to the Imperial Preceptor as soon as possible.
Have the Imperial Preceptores disciple come.
Perhaps they can defeat the Daoist." At that moment, a storied boat slowly docked at the peak of Jade Mountain. Several young people disembarked from the boat and came directly to the Hall of Imperial Learning. The one in the lead bowed and said, "Esteemed teachers, we are disciples of the Imperial Preceptor. The Imperial Preceptor heard that the Dao sect's Daoist had come to cause trouble, and so he ordered us to come." The Secretary General said in a low voice, "Grand Libationer, the Imperial Preceptor's disciples are not scholars of our Imperial College. Can they represent our Imperial College in battle? This matter still requires the Grand Libationer's decision." The Grand Libationer suddenly slammed his hand on the table and said forcefully, "Nonsense. So what if the Imperial Preceptor's disciples defeat the Dao sect's Daoist? The Imperial Preceptor's disciples were cultivated according to the old ways, taught by the Imperial Preceptor alone. It's no different from how other sects cultivate their disciples. If word of this gets out, the Dao sect will surely rebel. If the Dao sect rebels, all the righteous sects in the world will rebel. Are we to bear the blame for this? Who can bear it?" The Secretary General said angrily, "You're the Libationer, you're always right. Then tell us what we should do." Then, the crowd in the Hall of Imperial Learning erupted into a chaotic argument and still couldn't come up with a plan. In the end, they could only ask for the young Ancestral Master's opinion. The young Ancestral Master said, "The Imperial Preceptor's disciples are not, after all, Imperial College scholars. If the Imperial Preceptor's disciples fight and defeat the Dao sect's Daoist, please give us a like and subscribe, fellow Daoists. Let's continue our chat in the next episode."